Hi, Jonna. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, James.
It's a pleasure. Now, people can follow you on Twitter, I guess, when you have your Yankee fan or Yankee hat on, at '90s Yanks kid, and of course when you have your podcast, which we'll get into as well, podcast host or co-host hat on at Babes Pod on Twitter, and then of course no character size limits on Instagram, which is why we love it. Babes Podcast. So again, follow those. So again, a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Okay, so you're a producer and co-host with Kelsey and Madison on the Babes podcast. So let's give us a little background on it. Like, how did the three of you come together? How do you come up with it? Even how do you come up with the name? What's the whole story?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Yankee fan my whole life, die hard. I've always been really interested in baseball, a huge enthusiast. Although just in the last couple of years, I've really gotten into baseball all across the board. So I don't know if that was like a post-pandemic or like a thing that happened in the pandemic, but I just decided like, why not start a podcast? Like, this is what I love. I watch every game. So I decided that I would just like launch it. And I basically did a cold call on Twitter with a couple of other girls that I had been just interacting with a little bit, just as a baseball fan. Kelsey actually has her own podcast called Peace, Love, and Baseball. And so I was listening to her on there. She's a St. Louis Cardinals fan. And I was like, wow, she's really impressive. Like she's so good and just she's captivating. So I thought, why not reach out to her? And obviously, if you're a Yankee fan and you're active on Yankee social media, then you probably know Madison. So I thought she would be also perfect for the gig. And I was lucky enough that both of them were like, yeah, sure. And so we didn't know each other when we started, just like over social media. So we are now 6 episodes in, and we're getting to know each other really well at this point.
Yeah, it's cool on the fly like that. And I saw you have some interesting guests for May. Could you maybe just give a little preview of what you have scheduled?
Yeah. So coming up later in May, we have Shane Obudzinski, who played Tommy Timmons on The Sandlot.
Mhm.
So if you'll remember, like the brothers, Timmy and Tommy, Tommy was the little brother that would like repeat everything that he said. So like he'd be like, the Colossus is a clout, the Colossus is a clout. So he's the little brother. He's going to be on May, let's see, I think May 22nd is when we'll actually release the episode. And then following that, a fellow Yank fan, Jason Klein, who is an author, he wrote a children's book called Yes, Pepper, Girls Can Play Baseball Too. And so he wrote the book. It was inspired by his daughter, and she had approached her parents, I think, when she was 8 years old, and she asked them if she could play baseball. And obviously, the parents wanted to encourage her to do whatever she wants. So he decided to write a book about it, and he's been featured on MLB Network, the Yes Network, and a few others. So he'll be on, and yeah, I can't wait to have both of them.
Yeah, that's a cool combo there. And with the Sandlot, to me, I think I got to put that in the top five baseball movies ever. Though I'll go Natural number one, Bull Durham, Field of Dreams. I guess it's a little old, but the Pride of the Yankees with Lou Gehrig, and then I don't know, Sandlot's got to be in there. I don't know what other, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
I
such a
mean, I grew up in the 90s, and like I was born like just on the cusp of like the last day of 88. So basically, I don't know any of the 80s. I was basically just raised in the 90s. So 93, The Sandlot gets released. I think I'm like 4 years old. And it's just been like such a special movie in my life. I've always loved it, and it's inspired me and my love for baseball. So yeah, it's like a dream come true to have a cast member come on. And this happens to be their 30th anniversary this year.
hmm. Actually, I remember my first time. So it was one of those movies I was happy to see it in a theater. There's a certain movie that just like Jurassic Park and just like I've seen in theaters. I was happy to see it. Sandlot's one of them. Just an amazing film. And this, how about yourself though? Do you remember when you first saw the movie?
I don't remember if we saw it in theaters. I don't think we did. But I know we got it for Christmas, like as a gift on VHS from our grandparents. And I think like ever after that, just watched it nonstop.
Now, as for the name of the podcast, Babes Podcast. Now you have two Yankee fans and a Cardinal fan. Was it like a vote? Like, how did you come up with the name of the podcast?
I mean, I had like all the branding picked out already when I reached out to them, although I did like give them the option to, weigh in whether like they weren't cool with that, but both of them loved it. So we just went with it.
Gotcha.
So obviously inspired by Babe Ruth.
Yeah, that was a good plan. Now, any consideration, because obviously Roger Maris, after he left the Yankees, went to the Cardinals for a few years. Any consideration to go a little middle ground, get maybe Roger Maris's Babes podcast?
Ooh, I like that. We might have to incorporate something there.
Yeah.
Although no, like I didn't know that Kelsey was going to be a co-host when I picked all of the branding and figured it all out. So didn't consider that at the time.
Babe's more exciting anyway. So, so yourself, you're a Yankee beat writer for Jersey Sporting News. So, how often do you write articles?
So what I've been doing this year is just kind of writing a series recap. So I just put out like 2 articles a week, and I just do a recap after every series.
Gotcha.
So, but they're getting a little ahead of me. I have my hands in like too many things right now.
Gotcha. All right. So speaking about current Yankees, we look at this team right now in last place. Obviously, I don't think they are a last place team, but we've seen Tampa get off this great start. I mean, do you think the Yankees really have any shot to catch up to them and maybe get the AL East crown, or is this going to be a situation where they're fighting for those wild card spots, come late September?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think we're probably looking at a wild card at this point. I just don't see the Rays like going on any bad runs at this point. Like they have just been so solid. I kept thinking in April that they would maybe have like a bad series, but that really hasn't happened. So I don't know. Optimistically, I would love to think that we could catch them at this point, though. I think we better just like go for the wild card.
Yeah, they're feeling the same way. And plus, like even a year or two ago, you could always count on some like easy wins, maybe against like the Red Sox, Baltimore Orioles. I mean, Red Sox, I don't think they're that great. They're probably really a fourth place team, but the Orioles are no joke anymore. Toronto's good, even though they've been slumping a little bit. And of course, Tampa's good. So now, the Yankees not going to get any easy wins against, someone like Baltimore.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, even the Twins, right? Like they're holding out strong this year. So even when we face like other AL teams outside of our division, not an easy win.
All right. So, and before the season started, Cashman signed a 4-year extension. Now, let's just say for some reason the Yankees don't make the playoffs at all, not even a wild card. And obviously fans are going to want, blood. They're going to want someone to hide for that. Now, Cashman would have 3 years left on his deal. You think any possibility just to, satisfy the fans that Hal would cut finally ties with Cashman, but with still 3 years left on a deal?
No, I don't think there's any way that they would do that, just because historically, I don't know, there's just such a thick relationship there with Hal, and I just don't see them or with Hal and Cash, I just don't see them cutting him off. Possibly if like next year were to go bad too, so then he's halfway through the 4-year deal, but I know a lot of people would be calling for his job, and I mean I would be one of them probably, but I don't see it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with the same thing. Just because, like, you're not going to pay someone like another 3 years to sit at home. Like, yeah, I would think it would take a situation of they probably can boom just like satisfy just to respond, and then 2024 Cashman will be like, all right, you got about half a season to make something good here, or now with at least a second year, and then I could see him possibly finally cutting ties. But I totally agree with you. Just the fact he was kind of operating team during the last offseason when he wasn't even on the contract yet, just kind of, like I said, speaks volumes of the Hal and Cashman relationship.
Yeah, totally.
So we saw Hicks, take little baby steps. He gets that double in the final Tampa game, which is like, wow. And then, of course, the first game against Oakland hits a home run, shockingly. Now, do you think there's any possibility that Hicks can kind of put together some sort of decent sort of season here? Maybe he's getting a little healthy, or is it just, that's just a lucky 2 games and this guy's just, he's lost?
My fear is that, and I think a lot of people are with me on this, I think that like that just secured his spot here And then he'll go back to like not performing. That's my feeling. That's my gut feeling. But I mean, I would love to see the guy turn it around. And I really do wish fans would back off a little bit. I don't know how you can expect a guy to perform who just continuously gets booed. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm frustrated with the guy too, but like, don't we want him to succeed if he's going to be sticking around for a while?
No, I totally agree with you. Like I don't think you should boo like home players. Like even when they used to back in the day when they used to boo A-Rods, like how's this going to help the guy? You know, like he's
Yeah.
gonna be up there like on eggshells at every at bat. It doesn't help. And like yeah, I just think that you kind of quietly just turn your head down and it's like let the guy walk off. But I can understand fans' frustration with them. I just of course to go a whole month without an extra base hit, it's like come on.
Yeah. No, and it's a sore spot like with the organization too, because it's like, why are we letting like Peraza go back to Scranton and this guy deserves a chance, and then you've got Hicks and you're just like hanging on to him and he's got nothing left to give. But I don't know. I really was happy for the guy last night and I hope he can turn it around.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him. I thought honestly when the season started he would have a great season because he's someone like no pressure on him. You could almost bat him like in the ninth hole, and we've seen him have power. He gets on base, and like I thought he could almost have like a resurrection type career season. But again, so far no, that's not really the case.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, coming off like injury last year, I thought, okay, maybe, because he had a really rough ending to the season last year. Um, and yeah, so I thought like, hey, maybe this year he'll turn it around, but it just seems like he's just going the opposite direction. So,
Now another Yankee I'm kind of concerned with, of course, again he's going to be here for a couple more seasons. Is DJ LeMahieu. Again, he hasn't been the same player that the first two seasons as a Yankee, where he was like hitting over 300, almost an MVP type candidate. I mean, maybe if the foot's getting better, I mean, any possibility, DJ could be that player again, or is this going to kind of be this like 250, 260 hitting type of DJ?
I mean, I'm afraid he's probably not going to be the DJ he was when he first came here. I mean, he's getting older. How old is he now? Like, what is he,
33 or 34 about.
33?
Yeah, it's probably about
Yeah.
33.
Um, and so, but hey, I like what I'm seeing from him this year so far. He's been a really good leader on the field when we haven't had Judge. Um, so he does bring that with him, and that's been huge. And just his ability to move around. I love that.
Yeah, same. He has good versatility. And again, you're not really asking him to hit a home run, just be a slap hitter. But yeah, it's just but I mean, he was just been so lethal again a couple of seasons ago, just going to right field, opposite field again, hitting like 320 stuff like that. And I think that's also affected Judge a little bit as well. I think when DJ's going good, Judge is going good. But I think when DJ faltered a little bit, well, then they could pitch around Judge because they don't have to worry about DJ being on the base pads in front of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So we started the season obviously with Anthony Volpe. Obviously, he had a great spring training. The fans want him on the opening day roster. Now, April he kind of struggled, but last week of April he kind of picked it up a little bit and been decent in early May. Now, what's your assessment? Do you think the Yankee organization maybe jumped the gun with him a little bit? Maybe should have started with him AAA, or were you happy and think the decision, to have him in the majors this soon, it was the right call?
I think it was the right call, and I'm happy that he's here. I like what I'm seeing from him so far. He obviously had a little bit of a rough start too, but that's to be expected. I think giving him the chance to play it short all year long, like come postseason, he's going to be comfortable. He'll be confident. So I'm glad he's there all season. And like the Yankees just have the tendency to leave guys down in AAA for way too long. So I'm glad they're not doing that with him.
I agree, and I was like, let him go to take his lumps now. And I like the element of bringing the stolen base to lead off position for the Yankees, which they haven't had like since like Henderson in the '80s, really. I mean, to
Right,
be honest with you.
exactly. And I don't know, like if you can give him the hat tip on this, but it seems like everyone else is being a lot more aggressive on the base paths too. Um, so I like that. Glaber's stealing bases. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to see them like actually stealing, like Judge stealing a base when we're up 5-0.
probably not the best position to do it, but yeah, I like I think a lot of it has to do it also with the obviously the limited amount of pitchers can throw over to the bag. So I just think players are timing pitches better, and they kind of just running off the hills. And yeah, it's just good to see the Yankees have a new element, especially like I said, Gleyber Torres. So you don't really think of him as a speedster.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about like I've never really cared for that ghost runner rule, but this year I'm like, like I don't mind it because it's kind of working toward our, or it could potentially work to our advantage where we have better base running happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it as long as, like, again, I wouldn't want it in the playoffs, but again, just kind of get the regular season, especially the way now these games are much shorter, and now with the ghost runner, you're not going to get these 16 inning marathons like we used to get back in the day.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and another Yankee again. Obviously, the reason the last play is a lot of players struggling. There's been Clay Holmes, who kind of got off decently, but of course been faltering lately. I mean, you can't even like trust a guy. Do you think he lost his closer role, or you think this, Boone's is kind of putting some different guys there just to see what, kind of auditioning different options?
yeah. I mean, I think they're just trying out different things, but so far, what I've seen from him, I like him when he comes in the seventh or eighth inning. I think he's more calm and collected, and he just seems to do better in that spot. He's not a closer. He doesn't do well under pressure. And yeah, so I like King in that closer spot. But yeah, here in the last few games when they've put him in around the seventh or eighth inning, he hasn't been too bad. So
Yeah, been picking up a little bit, but I think ideally they would like to get him back to that Clay Holmes we saw at least the first half of last season when he had ERA like 0.9, and
yeah,
just throwing that sinker ball and having people just beat the ball into the ground. So, other than that, if that's not the case, that guy's not coming back, then they're going to have to make some sort of move to trade deadline. Because I like King too, but I like King in that seventh and eighth inning spots of going 2 innings and kind of be like the Mariano of '96, and then having a de facto ninth inning person going there clean.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's the way I would ideally like it.
yeah, yeah. I can see that.
So we're gonna wait on Stanton again. Probably not looking at least June until we see Giancarlo Stanton back. Now, obviously, we know his history with leg injuries. Now he always hits better when he's playing in the field, but you think the Yankees risk giving him like 3 or 4 starts in the outfield when he gets back, or you think he's just 100% DH because hey, look, we can't this guy, you can't trust this guy's legs to stay healthy.
I thought in the beginning they were coming out a little too strong with how many days they were playing him in the outfield. So maybe if they just back that off a little bit, where he's playing every few games in the outfield and then DHing in between, I think I like that for him.
Yeah, because I think going
Yeah,
into the
like
season, they were
you're
talking about
right.
Judge playing left, Bader in center, and Stanton right. I think they have the druthers. So I think come playoff time, you'll see that. But maybe, like I said, I agree with you. Maybe just 1 or 2 starts a week. That's it, in the
Yeah.
outfield.
Yeah. I mean, then the tough thing is Judge will have not played left field all year. So it's like, I don't know if he slides over there easily or
Yeah,
what.
I think he can handle it. They always say, like, left field Yankee Stadium, you need a center field. And well, Judge, even though I was against it last season, but hey, look, he proved me wrong, hit 62 home runs and stayed healthy. So I think if he could handle center field for Yankee Stadium, I think he can handle left. So I don't think it'd be bad for him. It's just a matter of Stanton just not getting hurt.
Yeah, right.
And how good has been the local guy, Harrison Bader. You see him come in here, instantly have an impact in the Tampa series. And he was really the only player for the Yankees that had any sign of life during last season playoffs. So what are you feeling about Harrison Bader?
Look, this is my like I told you so moment, and I am loving every minute of it. 2 weeks ago, I put out a tweet and I was just like, I cannot wait for Bader to get back. Like, you can't get back soon enough. And oh my gosh, people just ate me alive on that tweet. Like, no, that's not going to make a difference. And I'm like, I'm looking at more than just his fielding. Like, obviously, like fielding alone, we desperately needed him back. But like his bat too, which really came alive last postseason when everyone else's was dead. So I was like, there are those two aspects for me, but like more than anything, his vibes. I feel like he just brings like really good energy to the dugout. And sure enough, so far, like fingers crossed, but he has just been bringing it. And I love it. And the guys are like totally feeding off of it.
I like everything about him. I like when he's on the stealing bases. I like even his turquoise blue glove. He almost
Yeah,
reminds me a little bit of a Nick Swisher. Like Nick Swisher, I
he
guess
does.
he's probably not as vocal as Nick Swisher. I think Nick Swisher like rubs some people the wrong way a little bit because he wasn't like Yankee-ish, but Beta does it, I think, a little more of a way that people were more accepting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, he does have that like Nick Swisher in the clubhouse giving off the vibes, like kind of the life of the party
Gotcha.
for
So,
sure.
so hopefully, him and then the fact now Judge is returning from the IL just kind of, gives the team a little boost what they need. And again, DJ's been hitting a little bit better, Glaber hitting a little bit better. So finally, hopefully, this team will start scoring runs, but then and climb up that AL East little ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, I got my Judge shirt. I have a Judge shirt on tonight, have to for his return.
Yeah.
And he was kind of in a slump a little bit right before his injury. So hopefully that gave him time to recover from that too. And yeah, hit the ground running. I mean, I'm sure it's painful for the guy to like stand in the dugout feeling just fine. And I read in an interview with that, or maybe Brian Hoke wrote this, that he had said like half the time he was on the aisle, he felt completely fine. So I'm sure like standing in the dugout, just watching some of those brutal games that happened, that had to have been like the most painful thing of all. So hopefully he's back and mental game too.
Yeah, because like when they made the decision, I remember he took batting practice. He was like the third group up, and he took some swings. Like, again, he probably didn't have to, but I guess maybe we're on the side of caution at least this early in the season, not have something that's going to linger on. So, I think the Yankees weathered the storm best they could, and even the Tampa series. All right, they lost 2 out of 3, but they kind of have a ragtag lineup, and really could have possibly won all 3 games. So I think
Yeah.
you can take a little good solace from that.
Yeah, totally. I was pretty encouraged by what I saw during the Tampa series, even though we couldn't pull it out with Cole on Sunday, but I was encouraged. I thought the guys were really starting, and obviously Bader was back, so that helped. But yeah.
Okay, so I figure since you're '90s Yanks kid, we'll get into we'll go back in time a bit. So I'm gonna kind of ask you a couple of, I guess not really trivia, but maybe yes no questions, or I'll take your poll on a certain, so we'll go a little late '90s, early 2000s, but kind of I guess we'll call it the Tory dynasty. So,
Okay.
so the first question I want to throw at you. So you got a big must-win game, Game 7, last game of the year. Who are you gonna go with, Andy Pettitte or El Duque?
Had it.
You know, Pettitte. I would just.
I do love El Duque though, and his big leg kick.
Yeah, probably in that case, I think more, as much as I love Andy Pettitte, I'd probably just do El Duque because I don't think we see El Duque like we've seen Pettitte lose some of the big games, unfortunately, because he was here much longer than El Duque. But El Duque never really lost any of the big must-win games. So again, you can't really go either way. But I'd probably decide El Duque just because he always came through. And I always think of them. I guess it was the 1998 series against Cleveland where we're down 2-1, and he kind of wins that, ties the series up to 2-2. And obviously the Yankees lose that. The magical '98 season is completely lost.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I try to remember back as far as I can, as best as I can, but yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to switch
I
a
felt
little
like
bit.
I had to go with Andy.
Yeah, either way is wrong, not wrong. So we'll go a little few years before that. Obviously, '96, the Yankees win their first championship, first time in since the late '70s. Now, obviously, that season was we have Tino and Martino's there at first base. Now he had a great good regular season, but he didn't do much in the playoffs. Now let's just say if somehow, some way, Don Mattingly was on the '96 Yankees, you think they win the World Series that year?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. They'd want to go out on that note. Like I think, and obviously he was captain.
Might have been, but it would have been great to see Jeter, at shortstop throwing to Mattingly to get it out there. But unfortunately, that's not probably something we never got to see. So, got a little trade proposal for you here. Of course, we know the Yankees beat the Mets in the 2000 World Series, but would you be willing to trade losing to the Mets in 2000? But you get two things in return: you get to win the 2001 World Series, and you don't get the 3-0 choke against Boston in 2004. Would you be willing to trade losing to the Mets to get rid of those latter two?
I would. And I don't know, maybe that makes me not a good fan, but there is nothing more painful in my life to think back on than that 2004 comeback loss to the Red Sox. Like very painful. The 2001 World Series would have been amazing too. Like, obviously there was so much riding on that year with 9/11. Like, so that's storybook right there if we could have come away with that one.
Yeah, I always say this to other guests as well. My two favorite World Series of that whole run was 96, the first one, and 2001. Even though they lost it, just those two games with, the Tino home run, the Brocious home run, the Mr. November, the whole thing. Even those three games in the Yankee Stadium were just so amazing that, obviously the Mariano obviously losing games, getting knocked around hurt a little bit, but I think those three was just so amazing. It's almost like you don't mind even losing that one because, hey, look, they won 3 before that and 4 out of 6, so it's not it's not like they have no championships.
Right. Yeah. And it was like the one thing that they say like brought the city back together, giving everybody like this one goal to look forward to that, right after that all happened. So yeah, I would totally do that.
So I got 2 more for you before we head to the elevators at the Yankee Stadium and go downstairs and leave the stadium there. So get a little Jeter related. So what was the bigger Jeter moment to you? The Jeffrey Mayer catch in the 96 playoffs or Jeter's last at bat at Yankee Stadium, getting a game-winning hit to kind of give his sign off to the fans?
To me, it was his walk-off in his last at bat. Because that's what I like remember the most, a little bit older when that happened. And again, like storybook stuff right there. You couldn't have written a better ending to you could have. But that was just an electric moment. And I think like anyone who saw that will never forget it.
The crazy part about the game, if you remember, the Yankees had a good lead, and David Robinson, who again he was a decent closer for the Yankees, after Mariano left, he blows the game. I think he gave like a 3-run home run. So it's almost like this was just meant to be. Because otherwise,
like that was just set up perfectly.
It's like almost like, did he do this on purpose? Because the Yankees obviously were out of the playoff hunt that year, so it had nothing. Didn't need to win the game. So I don't think David Robinson blew the game on purpose. But yeah, it was just all set up.
You knew that was his last game. Like that was it.
Yeah. So yeah, it all worked out. So last but not least, we'll get into a few Yankee managers. Of course, we have Aaron Boone, who when he was a Yankee player, hits the game, walk-off home run against the Red Sox in 2003. You have that moment versus Joe Girardi, 96, hitting that triple off of Greg Maddux in Game 6 there, which essentially put the game away. What do you think was the bigger moment, the Girardi triple 96 or the Boone walk-off in 2003?
I think probably the most talked about is the Boone walk-off. The curse of the Boone Bino.
I think as well, just because I think that 96 Yankee team was going to win regardless. So, again, it was disappointing we lost to the Marlins, but at least we had that boom moment. So, John, I appreciate this time with you. Again, please, people should check out the Babes podcast. Again, follow you on Twitter at 90s Yanks Kid, as well as follow your podcast on Twitter at Babes Pod. And of course on Instagram as well as Babes Podcast. So best of luck on the podcast and everything. I'm sure you can do a great job, and hopefully these Yankees can start bouncing back a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Go Yanks.